She didn't know her mama left her $10 billion. Her husband left her pregnant with twins to be with his boss. What happened when the truth came out changed everything. He didn't just leave. He made sure everybody saw it happen. Right there at the community center during what was supposed to be a celebration dinner. Family, co-workers, half the neighborhood watching with their phones already up, Terrence Gibson grabbed the microphone and said it loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm done with this marriage. Effective immediately. She's holding me back." The room went dead quiet. Somebody gasped. Phones started recording. Nobody stopped him. Standing near the doorway, Valencia Parks, 29 years old, 8 months pregnant with twins, pressed one hand against her belly like she could shield her babies from what was happening. Her face stayed calm, but her eyes told a different story. She wore a simple Target dress, no jewelry, nothing fancy. To them, she was just Terrence's quiet wife. The woman who didn't understand ambition. The one they whispered was too simple for where Terrence was trying to go. And right next to Terrence stood Shayla Monroe, his boss at the firm, a woman with money, connections, and a smile that said she'd already moved into Valencia's spot. Perfect hair, designer everything, hand resting on Terrence's shoulder as she owned him. Nearby, Terrence's mama, Doreen, watched with approval, like this public destruction was overdue. What none of them knew, what even Valencia didn't know, was what her mother's death had set in motion a week earlier. A will, a trust, a sealed letter with a number so big it didn't sound real. Her mama, Claudette Parks, had been what people in certain circles quietly called the quiet billionaire. Someone who controlled money that moved in the trillions but lived as she shopped at the dollar store. Dear viewers, if you're watching this without hitting subscribe, you're standing in that crowd letting Valencia get erased. When you click that button, you're standing with every woman who was dismissed, abandoned, and still found the strength to rise. Please subscribe and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. The call came through like a punch to the chest. Valencia was folding baby clothes, little onesies she'd gotten from the thrift store, when her phone rang. The voice on the other end was calm, professional, too steady for the words coming out. "Miss Parks, this is Dr. Chen from Mercy General. I'm so sorry to tell you this, but your mother, Claudette Parks, she passed away early this morning." For a second, the room didn't feel real. Valencia's stomach tightened. The twins shifted like they felt her shock before she could even name it. She tried to stand, but her knees wouldn't hold her. She lowered herself onto the edge of the bed, staring at the drawer of baby clothes like folding them could keep her world from falling apart. Claudette was gone. Not sick, not getting worse. Justi, gone. Valencia thought about calling Terrence right away. That's what wives did, right? They reached for the person they trusted most. She found him in the living room, halfway inside his phone, thumb moving fast. He didn't look up when she walked in. "My mama," Valencia said softly. "She passed away." Terrence blinked once, like he'd heard background noise. Then he exhaled slow, impatient. "Valenciano." His eyes dropped back to his screen. "The quarterly review is next week. Shayla needs these numbers by tonight. A lot is going on." That's what he called his life now. She waited for the hug. The hand on her shoulder. Something. Anything. He gave her nothing. "You sure?" he asked, not concerned. More like he wanted the news to be wrong so it wouldn't mess up his day. Valencia nodded. The twins shifted again, her body reacting to stress with a dull ache across her lower back. "Okay," Terrence said quickly. "Handle it. Call whoever you need to call. I can't miss this meeting with Shayla." "Handle it." Valencia swallowed hard. She'd learned long ago that begging only made proud people colder. So she nodded like she was fine, because she'd gotten good at that. Valencia hadn't grown up with money. Her mama, Claudette, raised her in small apartments on the south side. Claudette never wore fancy jewelry, never talked about success. She talked about choices, about safety, about privacy. Sometimes late at night, Claudette sat at the kitchen table with stacks of papers. When Valencia walked in, she'd slide them under a cookbook. "Just grown-up stuff," she'd say. What Valencia never knew was that behind Claudette's plain life was a network of private trusts managing money measured in the trillions. Her personal estate, $10 in, locked behind protections. Claudette didn't want a daughter who expected power. She wanted one who deserved it. Valencia married Terence because he seemed ambitious. She supported his dreams, made herself smaller when his ego needed space. She told herself love was patience, compromise, and staying. Now, with Claudette gone, Valencia realized her mother had been her only real protection. That evening, Terence dressed like a man walking into a new life. "This networking event is important," he told Valencia while adjusting his tie in the mirror. "Don't embarrass me, okay?" Valencia's face stayed calm, but inside, something pressed against her ribs. She was carrying 2 heartbeats, and he was talking to her like a liability. She nodded anyway. She'd learned to keep the peace even when it cost her dignity. She chose a simple dress, clean, comfortable, nothing loud. She wasn't trying to compete. She just wanted to stand beside her husband and feel like they were still a team. But the moment they walked into that community center banquet hall, Valencia understood this room wasn't built for teams. It was built for winners. Right in the center stood Shayla Monroe. Shayla was 38, Terrence's boss at the investment firm, the kind of woman who didn't need to brag because the room already knew her name. She controlled Terrence's promotions, his bonuses, his future. And Terrence treated her approval like oxygen. When Terrence arrived with Valencia, Shayla's eyes flicked over Valencia like she was checking a price tag. The simple dress, the pregnant belly, the lack of designer anything. Shayla's smile didn't widen. It sharpened. "So this is her," Shayla said. Not a question. A conclusion. Valencia offered her hand. Shayla looked at it and let silence pass, just long enough for the message to land. Then Shayla sat in the chair beside Terrence. Valencia's chair. It wasn't dramatic. It was surgical. For a second, Terrence hesitated. Valencia saw it, that flicker of "should I?" Then ambition crushed it. He didn't offer Valencia his seat. He simply turned toward Shayla, smiling like he'd been chosen. Valencia stood. A few people noticed. A few pretended not to. Phones angled upward, screens glowing. Conversations moved around Valencia like she was invisible. When she tried to add a comment, something polite, safe, Terrence cut her off. "You wouldn't understand this part," he said, voice carrying just enough to sting. "If you've ever been talked over, dismissed, or made to feel invisible, drop a comment below and let me know you see Valencia. Hit that subscribe button. This story is just getting started." Later, executives discussed budgets. Shayla casually dropped words like streamlining and cutting dead weight. "Sometimes liabilities disguise themselves as loyalty," Shayla said, eyes landing on Valencia's stomach. Valencia's hand instinctively pressed to her belly. The twins kicked like they were reminding her she wasn't alone. Terrence didn't notice. Or he noticed and didn't care. Dinner was announced. People flowed toward tables. Valencia assumed she'd sit beside her husband. A young woman approached with a polite smile that wasn't really polite. "Ma'am, could you stand here for a moment? We're adjusting seating for senior staff." Valencia looked toward Terrence. Surely he would speak up now. Terrence didn't even turn. Shayla did. Her gaze said everything Terrence wouldn't see. "Even he knows where you belong." Valencia stood while plates were placed for everyone else. She watched laughter spill across tables, watched Terrence lean toward Shayla, watched the space beside him stay empty. No one defended her. Later, Shayla raised her glass. "To clarity," she said, "to efficiency, and to the courage to let go of what no longer serves growth." People murmured approval. Glasses clinked. Shayla's eyes never left Valencia. Terrence clapped first. Valencia didn't. As the night ended, Shayla drifted close, passing Valencia with expensive perfume. She brushed by and murmured, almost kindly, "Motherhood makes women smaller. You'll see." Valencia's breath caught, not from fear, from recognition. Shayla wasn't just flirting with Terrence. She was studying Valencia, planning around her. When they got home, Terrence went straight to his phone. Valencia stood in the doorway, watching him type with urgency. Then she saw the screen light up. Shayla's name. Another message. Tomorrow I'll come by. We'll handle this properly. Terrence's jaw tightened. For the first time, he looked at Valencia not like a wife, but like a problem he had to solve. The papers were already waiting when Valencia walked into the kitchen the next day, spread across the table like a verdict. Valencia stopped so hard her breath caught. Shayla stood in her home, leaning against the counter like she owned the walls. Next to the papers sat Doreen, Terrence's mother, early 60s, dressed like she was attending court. Terrence paced behind them, jaw tight. "What is this?" Valencia asked, voice thin but steady. Doreen tapped a page with one fingernail. "She's been taking money," Doreen said, like she was reading from a script. "Small amounts from the joint account. Enough to make Terrence look irresponsible at work." Valencia stared at the page. Her name was there, her address, numbers that looked like they belonged to her life. But the account number didn't. The pattern didn't. Her throat tightened. "This isn't," Valencia started. Doreen cut her off. "Stop. Don't embarrass yourself." Terrence finally turned to her, eyes sharp. "I carried you," he said. "You were nothing before me. And now look." Nothing before him. Valencia wanted to laugh, but her throat was full. Shayla watched, arms folded, almost satisfied. Valencia reached toward the papers. Terrence knocked the stack from the table with a sharp sweep. "Don't touch," he snapped. "You'll contaminate them. We need them as evidence." Doreen stood, voice lowering into fake concern. "Pregnancy makes women unstable," she said, as if warning Terrence about something dangerous. Shayla nodded. One small, silent agreement. Valencia slowly crouched to pick up the pages. Her back protested, twins pressing low. As she gathered them, her eyes caught something, a formatting error. The template looked exactly like one she'd seen on Terrence's laptop from Shayla's department, not HR. Valencia didn't say it out loud. Not yet. She memorized it instead. Terrence's voice rose. "I trusted you, and this is what you do while I'm trying to build a future?" Valencia looked up at him from the floor, papers in her hands. "A future?" He said it like she wasn't carrying it inside her body. Shayla stepped closer. "Terrence," she said gently, "we'll do this properly. Documentation, process. You can't have someone creating this kind of instability at home." Doreen's mouth curled. "She's a burden. Always has been." Terrence didn't argue. That night, Valencia tried to check the joint account. The screen loaded. One line appeared, "Account closed by authorized user." Her chest went hollow. Then her phone buzzed. "Unknown number. It's over. Don't make this harder." The microphone squealed, sharp and ugly. Valencia froze mid-step. Terrence lifted the mic meant for a toast. "I'm filing for divorce," he said. "Effective immediately." "She's a liability financially, emotionally, professionally." Gasps, nervous laughs. Valencia's stomach tightened. Twins, shifting low. Liability. Not wife. Not the mother of his children. Shayla's hand rested on Terrence's back. Ownership. Behind them, Doreen smiled with approval. Valencia took a step forward. She wanted to understand. To say, "I'm carrying your children." 2 security guards moved into her path. "Ma'am," one said quietly. "You need to step back. Step back." Valencia looked past him at Terrence. Her eyes begged. Terrence didn't move. Orders had already been given. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. Doreen's voice floated from her seat. "Don't cause a scene, Valencia." Then the suitcases landed outside, heavy thuds on the grass. Someone had gone upstairs. Someone had thrown Valencia's things onto the lawn. Valencia walked toward the door. Not fast. Not panicked. She couldn't afford to fall. Not pregnant. Not in front of them. Outside, her suitcases sat on the grass. And there stood Shayla wearing Valencia's robe. Not a similar one. Her robe, the one with the loose thread Valencia had sewn herself 2 weeks ago. Shayla adjusted the belt slowly. "So this is where we'll live," she said lightly, looking around. Valencia stared. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a replacement. Behind her, people stepped outside. Neighbors. Co-workers. "Phones are fully up now." "I need my bag," Valencia said, voice trembling. "My medical bag." Terrence walked out behind Shayla. "What now?" he snapped. "You always overreact." "I'm pregnant," Valencia said, sharper. "With your children." Terrence's hand shot out, grabbing her arm hard enough to make her gasp. "You're not my problem anymore," he said through his teeth. The slap came fast, a sharp crack. Valencia's head turned with the force. She saw stars, then silence. Nobody moved. Phones kept recording. Doreen's voice drifted. She brought this on herself. Shayla simply watched. Valencia bent down slowly, lifting her suitcases. Every movement hurt, but she kept moving. A car engine hummed across the street. A black sedan parked just far enough to be unnoticed. Inside, someone sat very still, watching, recording. Valencia didn't recognize the face through the glass. But she felt it. Someone was watching who knew more about her life than she did. Days passed at a blur of fear and exhaustion. Then Valencia remembered the old phone. The one Claudette had given her years ago. "Keep this charged," her mama had said, "just in case." Valencia dug through her bag until she felt it. She plugged it in. Waited. The screen blinked. One voicemail notification. Her thumb hovered. The timestamp. Days ago, right after Claudette went into the hospital. From a law firm. Valencia pressed play. The voice was calm, professional. "This message is for Miss Valencia Parks. My name is Arthur Bennett. I'm calling from the firm representing the estate of Claudette Parks. We've activated the estate process. A sealed notification letter has been delivered to your address and signed for. You must contact us as soon as possible. You are listed as the beneficiary." Beneficiary. Valencia sat in her car, phone pressed to her ear, listening to silence where truth had been waiting. Someone had taken her mail. Someone had made sure she stayed unaware. Suddenly it lined up. The fireplace, the robe, Shayla inside the house, the junk mail. Valencia reached up and wiped her face. Her breathing was sharp. She glanced at the old phone. Her mama had prepared for exactly this kind of cruelty. Valencia drove to an address Claudette had given her years ago. A card tucked in an envelope. "Only if you ever need it." The office wasn't flashy. Just a simple building with a sign, Bennett and Associates Legal Group. Inside, a woman looked up. Then truly looked, eyes narrowing like she'd been expecting Valencia. She stood immediately. "Valencia," she said softly. Simone Bennett was in her early 40s, a family protection lawyer. Calm, controlled, strategic. Claudette had trusted her. Simone took in the whole picture fast. Bruised cheek, swelling, pregnancy strain. "I wondered how long it would take," Simone said gently. "Your mother was very specific. Let's sit." They moved into a private office. Valencia told her everything. The party, the chair, the papers, the slap, the suitcases. Simone didn't gasp. She simply listened. When Valencia finished, Simone leaned back. "Okay, we move clean. We move once. Your mother knew these people were capable of this." Simone tapped her desk phone. "Jerome, I need you." Jerome Carter, a private investigator in his late 30s, arrived with a folder. "I've been watching the house. Your mother asked me to be on standby." He spread photographs, Shayla entering the house, taking mail, and at the fireplace with paper in flames. Simone called in Kendra Ross, a forensic accountant. "De audita template." From Shayla's department, not HR. Created on her workstation. Valencia's fingers curled. Evidence was mounting. Simone slid divorce papers toward Valencia. "We file. We protect you and the babies." Valencia's hand trembled, then steadied. "They wanted me silent. Let's show them what they missed." Jerome paused at the door. "There's something else. Your husband tried accessing trust records linked to your mother's name. The attempt got flagged." Valencia's mouth tightened. "He doesn't know what he's touching," she said softly. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Soon this ends." Simone glanced at the screen. "It ends," she said. "But not the way he thinks. Drop a comment if you're rooting for Valencia. And don't forget to subscribe. The best part is coming." Weeks later, Kendra's laptop chimed. Email from Shayla to Terrence. Make her look unstable. Use the language we discussed. Concern. Unpredictable. HR responds better to instability than conflict. Don't call her crazy. Say you're worried about her judgment. More messages. Shayla is coaching every word, every move. Simone's face stayed calm. "This is orchestration. Jerome's flash drive held security footage, Shayla signing for the courier, entering with letters, burning them. Simone built the folder. Digital, physical metadata. Valencia watched it grow. "Keep going," Valencia said. "I want every piece." Simone tapé a calendar. "The estate lawyers have set a formal will reading. Anyone named is required to attend. Because Terence was your spouse when your mother died, he's on the list. Shayla's been notified as a party potentially involved in interference." Valencia's brows pulled together. "Why would he show up?" Simone's voice stayed level. "Because he still thinks your mother was nobody. He won't know what's coming until the documents are read." The door shut with a soft click that sounded louder than a slam. Terence walked in confidently, shoulders back, wearing his best suit. The room was plain, but everything carried weight. The long table, thick folders, quiet people in suits. Terence scanned for Valencia. He saw her, 8 months pregnant but upright, not broken, calm. At her side, Simone prepared, folders ready. Terence's stomach tightened. Why does she look prepared? Then Shayla entered. Heels precise, face composed. But today tension showed. She sat near Terence, not beside him. Close enough to be associated, far enough to step away. At the front sat Arthur Bennett, mid-50s, with a calm voice. "The estate of Claudette Parks will now be addressed. This meeting is being recorded." The room went quiet. He began reading. Assets, foundations, holdings, companies, numbers that sounded unreal. Terence's confidence wobbled. Arthur continued. "These holdings are managed through Parks Global Holdings." Terence frowned. Parks? The numbers kept climbing. Millions, hundreds of millions, billions. Terence's mouth went dry. Then Arthur reached the line that cracked everything open, and the sole heir to Parks Global Holdings, valued at $10 billion, is Valencia Parks. Terence laughed. One sharp burst, then stopped, because nobody else laughed, because Valencia didn't blink. $10 billion. His throat tightened. The laugh died. Shayla stood abruptly. "That's impossible." Arthur raised a hand. "Miss Monroe, you'll have an opportunity to respond. Sit down." Shayla sat slowly. Arthur continued. "Multiple attempts were made to contact Miss Parks, including a sealed letter delivered to her address. Our records show that the letter was signed for by another adult and did not reach the intended recipient." Terence swallowed hard. "Subsequently, our investigator documented the destruction of estate correspondence inside that home." A monitor lit up. Footage played. Courier at the door. Shayla signing. Shayla's at the fireplace. Paper feeding into flames. Terence's hands began to shake. Then emails appeared. Printed copies. Digital versions. Shayla is coaching Terence. Weaponizing HR language. Around him, witnesses shifted. Faces hardened. This room wasn't his audience. It was his trial. Valencia stood slowly. When she spoke, her voice was quiet. "I was called nothing," she said. Silence. Her eyes moved to Terence. "You were right," she continued softly. Terence's throat tightened. "I was nothing. I was everything you couldn't see." A security officer stepped forward. "Miss Monroe, you're required to remain available for questioning." Shayla's eyes flicked to Terence. Then she stepped back, away from him. Terence sat there shaking, realizing the next room wouldn't be a will reading. It would be a courtroom. The courtroom was packed. Valencia entered, head high. Simone walked beside her, folders ready. Terence looked hollowed out, already fired, badge deactivated, allies gone. Simone presented documents, Kendra's reports, Jerome's footage, bank records, and emails. Even the party security had instructions not to let Valencia inside. The judge's voice made the room colder. Temporary sole decision-making for Valencia. Protective orders, custody restrictions. Terence stood. "Your Honor, I didn't know." The judge raised a hand. "Sit down, Mr. Gibson." Outside, Terence followed Valencia. "Wait, please." Valencia didn't stop. Simone shifted between them. Valencia spoke without turning. "You should have asked for my side." Terence looked for Shayla. She wasn't there. His phone buzzed. "Don't contact me again. Handle your own mess." She was leaving him behind. The headline hit everywhere. Not Terence's name. He was already done. The name flashing was the one Terrence once treated like dirt. Pregnant woman slapped and publicly dumped becomes sole heir to 10 billion Parks Global Holdings. Fraud probe targets executive boss. A photo followed Valencia leaving the courthouse, chin lifted, hand on her stomach, Simone at her side. Comments filled with words that used to belong to other people: heir, trust, fraud investigation. Valencia saw none of it. She was in a hospital room, lights dim, holding 2 newborn babies. For a moment, the world outside didn't matter. Then her phone buzzed. Simone's name. "It's done," Simone said. "Final orders came through. Sole legal authority. And the estate process is complete. Trust distributions are locked under your control." Locked. Valencia's eyes closed briefly. Not joy. Release. She looked at her babies. "You're safe." Months later, Shayla resurfaced alone. Resignation accepted. Pending internal review. Subject of ongoing investigation. The company compliance that used to defer to her now interviews her with recorders running. The burned letter was ash, but the act wasn't, not when video and email trails existed. Shayla tried to slip away quietly, but evidence didn't care about branding. Jerome's footage didn't disappear. Kendra's trail didn't evaporate. The emails stayed preserved. Peers stopped taking her calls. Doors stayed shut. Power built on cruelty always expires. When Valencia finally stepped before the cameras, it wasn't for drama. It was for closure. She stood with Simone beside her. "This isn't revenge," Valencia said clearly. "It's true. The truth protects my children, and it protects other women told to stay quiet when they're being harmed. If you think staying silent makes you loyal, it doesn't. It makes other people comfortable. People listened, not just because she was rich now, but because she was real. I won't discuss details beyond the public record. The courts have spoken. I'm going back to my life." Then she stepped away. Valencia sat by a window months later holding her twins. The house was different now. Not louder, not more glamorous. Just hers. Secure, quiet. Papers with trust seals lay neatly in a drawer. Not on display. She didn't look hidden anymore. She didn't look small. She looked unshaken. And somewhere far away, a man who once called her nothing sat in the echo of his own choices, realizing the worst karma wasn't losing money. It was losing a woman who would have loved him honestly. I hope this story moved you as much as it moved me to create it. Like, share, and comment with the lessons you've learned. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button and join this community. See you in the next one.